This is the Horse Radio Network. Well, hello, everybody. This is episode 521 of the Stable Scoop Show on the Horse Radio Network's Equestrian Roundtable Show. Our sponsor this episode is Purina Omega Match. I'm Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning, the longest-running daily horse podcast in the world. And I want to make sure that you know that if you don't hear or see all of the show tonight, you can catch it on the Stable Scoop podcast feed tomorrow. Just look up Stable Scoop in your podcast player and you can listen to the whole thing. I'm your host and moderator, and I'm sure I'll have some opinions, but most of this tonight is about the panelists. They're going to lead the way, and they actually chose the questions. I let them choose the topics they want to talk about. And tonight we have a group from the American Horse Publications. That's the group of journalists in the horse world, in the equine world. We're all different kinds of journalists, some writing and some talking, and just a little bit of everything. Photographers. AHP has made up a lot of different groups, and we have three of my friends on tonight who are going to join us and talk about some very interesting topics that I think you're going to enjoy. If you are here and you can, type in the comments, tell me your name and where you're from. All the panelists will see the comments as well. So definitely, as the show goes on tonight, feel free to comment. Let us know how you feel about a particular topic, and we would love to hear from you. So if you can type in the comments, that would be great. If there's a problem with any of the sound or anything going on tonight, if you can hear somebody, let us know in the comments as well, and I'll keep an eye on that. Before we go too much further, I needed to mention that we are coming up almost a month away from the HRN Roadshow. Right now, if you go to horseradionetwork.com and click on the banner at the top of the page for the Roadshow, you're going to see where we have the meetups. Most of the meetups are planned. We're going to have Facebook events for most of them as we go along here. We're finalizing some of the details of some of the meetups. I think there's a total of a dozen meetups in multiple states, so you can check out where we're going to be on the East Coast. If you're around, we would love to see you. I will say for the Jamie Jennings fans out there, she will be joining us in Lexington, Kentucky for the weekend, and we're going to have a meetup there. I think it's August the 7th. We're going to meet up at the Kentucky Horse Park. So we have a trail riding meetup. We have a concert. We have all kinds of things planned. So definitely go check that out, save the dates, and as we get more details, we'll keep releasing them here. But Jennifer and I go on the road on July the 31st, a total of 3,300 miles. We're traveling across the East Coast, and hopefully we survive and all goes well. We're not driving through New Jersey, so we should make it safely. And I only say that for Heather's benefit tonight. Hi, Hazel from Central Iowa. Good to have you here tonight. Appreciate you stopping by. And one other thing, and then we're going to meet our panelists straight away, but I have to mention this because there's still time. Our Horse Lovers Cruise in 2022, we're still taking reservations and tickets for that. If you go to horseloverscruise.com, you'll find all the details. We have 50 people signed up, and it looks like we're cruising again. Looks like the cruises have started out of Florida again, so hopefully we'll be able to go. So definitely go sign up. We have a blast. This is not educational in any way, shape, or form. We eat, we drink, and we have fun. That's what we do on these cruises. We're going to be on the second largest cruise ship in the world, and we are going for 7 nights this time. This will be the longest cruise we've ever done, and I think everybody's looking forward to it at this point, getting out of the house and getting on a boat. So that's the details of some of the things we got coming up right now on the Horse Radio Network. But let's meet our panelists tonight who are then going to bring us the topics of the night. And we do have Jersey Girl. We have Heather Wallace on here with us. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're with the Timid Rider. Tell us what Timid Rider is.
So the Timid Rider is a personal blog about returning to horses as an adult and all the overthinking and fear that comes with it as an adult, as someone who doesn't bounce like she used to. And as a mom, I can't really, risk too much getting hurt. But it's following my personal journey with my horses and really struggling with not being perfect and trying to be the best I can for them and having a little fear and doing it anyway.
You just described 99% of the people that are going to listen to this. So.
There are a lot of
us. You wrote a couple books too, Confessions of a Timid Rider and Girl Forward, right?
Correct. Yes.
And what's Girl Forward about?
Growth Forward is following my journey to Mongolia, how I ended up with an endurance horse race out there. As someone who is a timid rider, a lot of people wonder. So I wrote the story.
You did the Mongolian Derby, didn't you?
I didn't actually. It was it's called the Gobi Desert Cup. It's an endurance horse
we had
race.
you on talking about that.
Yeah,
yes.
So I ended up going twice, but the book is about my first ever journey going as a timid person without ever knowing the people there, knowing the language, knowing the culture, or anything about it. I dropped everything and took the opportunity. So that's
a timid girl goes, rides crazy Mongolian ponies.
Yep, that about sums it up.
Well, I'm glad you're here tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we have Stephanie joining us as well. She's from Dressage Today. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Heather. It's good to see you.
Stephanie also used to host a show on the Horse Radio Network.
I did.
About Arabians, but now you're hosting your own show over on Dressage Today about dressage, right?
That is correct. We just started, or I just started. I've only done like 3 or 4 episodes, I guess, so far, but I like it. It's fun.
And what's it called? Where do people find it?
Oh, well, it's, the Dressage Today podcast.
There you go.
It's pretty obvious. You can find it on wherever you find your podcasts, but it's myself and my co-host is Aviva Nebeski, who is based in Maryland. She's a trainer and a graduate of the L program. So we just I've known her, I've clinicked with her. She's judged me and, we just get together. We just kind of chat and talk and,
All right. Very
stuff.
Good. Good. Cool. Very good. And of course, Dressage Today, we all know what that is. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, we're going to go to Katie Navarra. Let me bring Katie on here. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Heather and Stephanie.
Now, Katie, you do something that's a little bit different in the media world for the horse world. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I am my own boss. I'm a freelance writer, started my career in the horse industry, writing for many of the magazines that you see in the newsstand every day, the breed publications, the general horse care and training, and also work with corporations who put out all the wonderful content that you read about your horse care and how to find the best products and keep your horses healthy and happy. And in the last year, I've been adding some new services to my business, which I'm really excited about. And that is life and leadership coaching. And I'll be launching some of those services in partnership with horses, since they are really good at showing us that what happens in the arena is what happens in the rest of life. And they can help us really identify where we're getting stuck and see some new opportunities for how we can move forward.
And it doesn't matter. Old guys like me can do that too.
Anyone can do it.
Okay.
Horse people, non-horse people, come with the experience level that you have.
Sounds good. And we're going to learn a little bit more about what you guys do later on, but let's get right to the first question. And Heather, I'm going to yours first because I thought this was interesting. It's a topic that's never been brought up here. You wanted to talk about toxic positivity. So tell us about that. What is it? What is
toxic positivity?
Yeah, what is it and why the topic?
So it's the belief that no matter how difficult a situation is, that people should always maintain a positive mindset. It should be like the good vibes only approach to life. And it doesn't recognize any of the opposite, like any of those down times, any of those times where people struggle. And so the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I had a personal experience with this. And it's really difficult for a lot of nervous riders or those who struggle with overthinking to just let it go and just focus on the positive. Sometimes it's impossible to do. And then they feel worse because of it, because all these other people are telling them what they should do and they're not really kind of getting it. So I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to really open the conversation, like how can we make it less of a red flag to talk about our feelings or our fears without the stigma of us not being good riders or being scared all the time, when that's not really the case.
This applies to more than just riding, right? It applies to almost anything. When I was really sick last year, I actually found it annoying because people say, oh, you'll get through this. They're trying to be helpful, right? But at that point, it's hard, and you're not thinking that way. And then you kind of feel like, I should be feeling more positive, but I'm really not. So,
it's a cyclical effect where you're feeling more terrible about yourself because you have those feelings in the first place.
I belong to a cancer group for men on Facebook, and in there, it's the exact opposite. You say exactly what you're feeling, and they don't it's almost patronizing at that point, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't. They just say, yeah, this is tough, and it's going to suck, because sometimes it just sucks, and you got to get through the suck to get to the other side. And I think there's a balance there, though, right? Stephanie, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely. And I personally try to be the glasses half full person, and I try to see the good in situations and stuff like that. But like all of you guys, every now and then I'm just, life kicks you in the gut, usually more than once at a time. Cause you can't go through just one hard thing. You have to go through 15. So yeah, this topic goes way beyond just horses and everything, but yeah, so and I allow myself, to have a pity party every now and then and to, lay on the couch and woe is me. But then like the next day or whatever, I get my butt back up and go do what I need to do. And, I might not be happy about it, but, so I think, it's so fine it's absolutely fine to go, you know what, this really stinks. But then I'm just the kind of person that it might slow me down and then, but I'll dust myself off again and keep on going, So, and that's kind of the way it is with riding too, because we get bucked off or whatever, and you dust yourself off and you nurse your wounds and then you get back on. So it kind of goes cyclically.
Does any of your woe is me time involve Moose Tracks ice cream for about a half a gallon like me?
You know what? I try really hard not to. But yeah, I will occasionally stress eat, or have a very large glass of wine. My friends used to say there's a glass of wine and then there's a Stephanie size glass of wine. So. But I try to moderate that. No, usually it's just like laying on the couch watching some stupid, mindless television, that I can just check out for a while.
We're hanging out with Stephanie at the AHP conference this year.
I know.
Yeah. Katie, what about you?
I think it's a really interesting topic to bring up. On the horse side of things, it is something that I'm struggling with a little bit myself. Decided to take a little bit of a step back from showing this year. And always hear from other people, oh, you got to be positive. You got to think about how far you've come in this and that. And when it just doesn't feel like it's the right thing to do, it's really hard to trust your gut. And this is actually something that I talk a lot about with clients that I work with is, we can't control what other people say or what other people expect for us. And so, yes, when they expect us to be, the glass is always 3/4 full or overflowing. We still have the power to decide how that's going to impact us. And I think it's really timely that this came up because coincidentally, I'm reading the book Radical Candor right now. And in it, the author talked about two types of people at work, people who are the superstars and people who are the rock stars. And one group is your group of employees who never wants to be promoted. They love what they're doing. They're good at what they do, and they're very happy. And the other group is the one that's always looking for that next promotion. And it really got me thinking back to my career when I worked in corporate settings, really struggling with not understanding why people didn't want to move forward, didn't want to advance. And so I think it sort of ties into this whole topic of positivity and thinking that people should have different aspirations or feel a different way. So it's been really interesting to take a step back and think about that through this book that I'm reading, this conversation that we're having, and realize that we just need to be, a little bit more supportive of everybody.
I think that's really interesting because I completely agree with you, Katie, because I think the big problem we have is we always want to put people in the same box as we are when life isn't always like that, right? I think the biggest thing to ask is, well, what do you want? Because what I want is maybe not what you want and what Stephanie wants and what Glenn wants. So I think that's a really good point.
Stephanie, you were...
Yeah, I was just going to say that's I was going to agree with Katie and, you know, kind of with the horse thing. Sometimes I see people who struggle with, wondering why other people don't want to compete. Well, why don't you want to show? You have such a nice horse. You're such a nice rider or whatever. Why don't you want to show? You should show, you know, oh, and some people don't want that. And that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But then they start to feel bad because they're like, well, I don't want to show for whatever reason. And yeah, so it's kind of being, like you had said, a little more accepting and knowing that, and being happy with where you're at and being happy for where other people are at and not expecting you to necessarily be in the same place.
And that's Stephanie's dogs over there.
I'm sorry.
What kind of dogs do you have, Stephanie?
There are two of them. They are German short hair pointers.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they're highly energetic.
High energy.
Yeah.
And it's raining, so I can't put them outside.
It's been raining nonstop here in Florida.
And they're like children when mom's like on the phone or on the Zoom or whatever, they're all about, oh, we have to play. So I'm really sorry.
I had some of this when I started Horse Radio Network, and I'm a carriage driver, but I've always been a pleasure carriage driver. I've never wanted to compete. And then I got, started doing the driving radio show and talking to all these people compete, and they're always trying to convince me to compete. And I correlated it a little bit to when Jennifer and I got married and everybody was bugging us about having kids. It was that same thing for years, right? And it was this same thing for years too. You're going to compete. And finally, I think people just gave up. And they give up about the kids thing too, eventually. Although mothers and, grandmothers seem to last a little longer on that topic. But it was the same thing. And I just never had a desire. I like driving my pony for pleasure. And I know that, well, first of all, I'd never remember the course in the driving competition. It would never happen. I would definitely need a navigator, but I just didn't want the pressure. I just, I have enough pressure. I didn't want the pressure there. I just want to enjoy my pony. And you're right. Some people just don't get that you just want to enjoy your pony.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I was on a recent trip with my friends and they're like, oh, we want to do only fast rides. We want to do this. We want to do that. We want to do that. And I'm like, that's great. Have fun. I'm going to do this ride today and take a break. And they're like, you need to challenge yourself. Like, why? And so that it really got me thinking. Like,
life isn't challenging enough.
Like I don't have enough things on my plate,
yeah.
Right? And I think I'm like, okay, well, I'm rehabbing a thoroughbred and I have a pony with neurological issues. Yeah, I have enough challenges. Okay, like I just want to have a nice vacation, and so it was really funny because they're like, well, you're not going to grow. And I'm like, I'm doing plenty. And so it got me thinking all about that because you do see that with kids or why aren't you married? Why are you single? And it was really eye-opening for me. So I thought it was important to just talk about and get out on the table.
Why do we always have to grow with everything we do? Can't we just enjoy it and not have to grow?
Yeah. Let's just ride the waves and just... Yeah.
I think occasionally you just need to enjoy where you're at, right? And, I think actually last year when I got sick and had that rough time, that made me realize more than ever that thus the road trip this year and all the things we've been wanting to do, but because we were so driven, we never did.
That's true. We can kind of get lost in the weeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where, those people are riding fast and enjoying the wind through their hair and doing all that things, but they're missing this, the view. They're missing all these wonderful things. And it really is just, you gotta go at your own pace. You gotta do what you love. And you have to really ask yourself, like, well, what do I want?
Katie, do you think that also is age related, that the younger you are, you're driven, and then the older you get, the less you're driven? Do you see that with people that you're coaching?
I think what's interesting about the people I've been coaching is that they have put so much aside to build the career, build the family, do what they think everybody's expectation was. And now they're burnt out and they're frustrated and they've realized what they've missed out on or what they want to make their priority. So it is interesting. I think as we get a little bit further into life, we sort of kind of take that step back and go, yeah, it matters what other people think, but it doesn't really matter if I'm not happy. And so it's been really interesting to see with clients how they're kind of working through bringing more, I don't like the word balance because nothing is ever in balance, but how to bring a little bit more space into their daily routine to enjoy all the things that they want to get out of every day.
And if you're watching this, comment. I'd love to hear what you think about this topic in particular. Well, I think it's time to move on. So thank you for bringing that one, Heather. I think you brought it with three people who could really relate to that tonight. So,
my timing was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. Exactly. Well, before we go on, I have to talk about our sponsor tonight. And our sponsor tonight is Purina. So if your horses can't get out on green grass for the daily dose of omegas, Purina's got you covered. The Purina team of PhD equine nutritionists have two new products that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids and taste better than many other sources, and that includes fish oil, which just tastes awful. Try the new Purina Omega Match Timothy-based ration balancer or ahi oil supplement and see how for yourself why these are among some of the best omegas that nature offers. It takes science and love together, each pulling their weight to help your horses live their best lives. Put our research to the test at purinamills.com/omega match. And actually, my pony Scooter, my little Hackney pony, is on a dry lot because he gets too fat and wants to blow up like a tick. So we actually have him on one of these new products because he doesn't get any green grass. He's just not even allowed. When I put him out like that, Jennifer gets mad at me. So I can only hand graze him 15 minutes a day, and that's the only grass he gets, and he looks so sad all the time. But I'm hoping that the Purina helps him out here and gives him the omegas he needs because he's not getting it from green grass. Katie, your topic, getting back to the basics. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate to grow up in a rural community where my dad shared a love of horses. So we just had them at the family farm. And, I remember studying for like social studies tests on a trail ride. We'd pack my textbook up and we'd go out and my dad would quiz me all the way around. And it was just moments to enjoy being outside, being with the horses, being with our family. And as time goes on and I went to college and took corporate career positions and started building a freelance business, the time at the barn became very regimented. It's got to fit into the schedule. This time we've got to accomplish this. I have this goal for competition. And it's sort of what I realized this summer more than any is that it sort of sucked the fun a little bit out of my most favorite place to be, in the barn, right? So it has sort of led me to this crossroads of trying to find a way to get back to the barn, knowing that I am not, skilled or interested in becoming a professional trainer. But by bringing horses into some of the coaching work, it's bringing some of that satisfaction back of just being in the presence of the horses that we love so much. Just the smell, I always talk about how I wish there was that bottled smell of, horse nose. That's my favorite smell in the world. And it's been really eye-opening, especially when you're surrounded by a competitive club that you participate in, because it's hard to get other people to understand just being, in their presence. So it's just something I've been thinking a lot about is how do I get more back out to the barn without always having a goal in mind that has to be accomplished in the time that I'm there.
Comments?
Oh, I struggle with that one every day, every time I'm there, because I went from being a really a heavy competitor to kind of, since I've been in Florida, I haven't, for various reasons. And so I really struggled with what is my purpose with my horses now if I'm not actively doing lessons and competing and stuff like that. I'm like, what is my goal? Because I am personally kind of a goal-driven person. So so I really struggled back and forth with that. And then I would feel bad if I would just go to the barn and only ride for 20 minutes or something. And because I kept asking myself, what am I accomplishing? But even that, or even if I just went and hand grazed or did, groomed or whatever, I would always leave the barn feeling better than when I got there. So that's what I was accomplishing, if nothing else, and not that was necessarily a goal in my mind, but there were there are still times when I, especially now that it's getting hot in Florida, drag myself there because I do board. I don't have my horses on my own property anymore. So I do board. And sometimes it's hard to leave that nice air-conditioned house when it's 105 outside. But I still, no matter what I do, I feel better when I do it. But I struggle with that. I still struggle with that a lot. Just kind of and now with my position at dressage today, I'm sort of getting back into like being around a lot of people who compete and, you know, who teach and train and the upper echelon and all these very motivated people. And it's kind of rekindling things for me. And I'm like, well, maybe I should get back into that and stuff. So, but it's still kind of, but like you said, it's walking that line or trying to find out what works best for you. And it varies. It varies sometimes by the day, the week, the month, the year. And, but just kind of knowing where that is and accepting where that is too. That's a big part of it.
Part of it too is go ahead, Katie.
I was just going to say, Heather and I have the opposite problem, Stephanie. We have to drag ourselves to the barn when it's below zero and snow is.
Oh, hey, I remember. I used to do that too. So I remember, yes. But now that it's summer, winter, Florida's in our winter now.
This is our
summer.
winter, yeah.
Yep, this is our winter. But no, I remember, and I had horses on my own property then. So I remember what it was like having to drag yourself out with the coveralls and the hats, and you didn't know. It's part of the reason why I live here now. And I think probably Glenn too.
Smart.
Yeah, exactly. Heather?
Well, I really, if anyone has a secret to like work-life horse balance, I mean, I would pay top dollar for that because I struggle with that every day. I've got 2 businesses, 3 kids, 2 horses, a husband, dogs, and I just no time. So
I just noticed where the husband came in that list. He was like 12th down the list. I noticed.
Yeah. He's working in the basement. That's where he belongs. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's one of those things where when I was just returning to riding and I was taking lessons, the focus was so much on riding and that I really wanted to spend more time learning horsemanship and learning groundwork and doing that and not having the opportunity. And now it's kind of flipped where I have that opportunity to do that. Case in point, so I have to plan the time. Otherwise, I book clients and I don't get to go. But I booked some time. I went today and I had this beautiful pole work exercise set up in the arena and I'd taken some time to do it. And then I went to go get my horse and he ran away from me. And I spent a good 20 minutes trying to convince him that, yes, we should put the halter on. And he's just like, no, I will only come to you if you scratch me and give me love. And I just don't want to work today. And so I did. I dropped the halter. I just threw it over the fence and I just went and sat in the paddock with him. And I think working with horses, you really have to figure out that you can have a plan, but you got to throw it out sometimes. So that's one of those things where I just really enjoy sometimes that time off and maybe don't ride as much as I should. But what should, right? I mean, you got to do what's good for you any given day.
One of my favorite things to do with my pony is just go for a walk around the neighborhood because we live in an equestrian neighborhood. I just, take him for a walk like a dog. And it's so funny because he's so small, he's like 12'3", and a little hackney. And Jennifer's horse, if we go out for walks together, she has this 16.5 hand thoroughbred and they look like, Mutt and Jeff. It's like, and everybody thinks he's a baby. So then I'm walking the baby because he's so much smaller than Nigel is. But he loves just going out for walks like that. One, he doesn't have to pull the cart, so it's much easier for him. But he just loves for going on adventures like that. So sometimes we just load up the horses and we have so many trails around here, but we go and hand walk them on the trails. And they love that because for them, it's no stress either, right? They don't have to work that hard and it's just fun time. So we've gotten in the habit now of just taking them out for walks and they love it. And it's less stress for us. It's so much easier than loading a cart and a harness and the tack and all that. You just go. And, I've stopped feeling guilty about that a long time ago now because you feel guilty for a long time because you feel guilty because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is riding or in my case, driving. Right.
But at the end of the day, I mean, they want to play with you too, right? It shouldn't all be work because then they're going to get sour. They're not going to want to spend the time with you. And I don't know, at the end of the day, isn't it about the relationship with horses? That's why we're there.
And they have moods. I mean, there's some days they want to work and some days they don't. I mean, they have their own moods.
As my horse indicated today.
Yeah, he told you.
Under no circumstances will I come with you.
So I think what we're saying is you don't have to feel guilty for this. If you get time with your horse, no matter what that time is, right, Katie? Isn't that what we're saying? You just don't put the guilt aside.
Exactly. Your story about hand walking reminded me of last fall. Our mare fell and got a hematoma on her hindquarters and required a lot of hand walking. And we had some of the most fun times, just 15 minutes out into the woods and back every day. And instead of running away from me in the pasture, she'd actually come, So, and then of course she got spoiled because we had to massage it to get the swelling and whatnot out. So she thinks that life now should be hand walks and hind quarter massages all the time. But it was really a lot of fun just to, go and take care of her and not worry about there being something that had to be worked towards.
And because she was injured, you didn't feel guilty.
Exactly.
But isn't it weird that we feel guilty? I mean, why do we feel guilty? Where in our learning curve or whatever did it say you should feel guilty if you're not doing X, Y, and Z? So why is it that we feel guilty? Not that I expect you guys to have the answer, but maybe you do.
I have an answer. It's come from some trainers. I've definitely been at the barn where a trainer has said in passing, "Oh, so-and-so hasn't been out to ride their horse lately," and the blah, 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 blah. And I think, so you hear that, and even though you're the one there, you're like, oh my God, they're going to be talking badly about me if I don't do it. But a friend just told me there's horse riders and horse owners, right? And sometimes a lot of the horse owners don't have the time to ride, especially if you have multiple horses. And maybe sometimes that's a better excuse because they just do what they want to do.
Mm.
What else I think is interesting is I've been studying a lot lately, different strength finders that we each have. There's an assessment called the Strength Finders Assessment, and there are 34 different behaviors that are inherent in all people, and they're categorized into 4 groups. And I happen to be an achiever, a focused person, an input person, and futuristic, which means I'll have all of these goal-oriented traits, in me, who knows where that came from, genetics, upbringing, whatever. And sometimes it's so hard to fight like our internal, just who we are, And so since I've been reading a lot about those in just kind of the corporate setting, I've been trying to bring that to the barn with me and say, okay, this is my achiever trait coming out right now. Maybe I need to take a step back and just go with the flow. We're still a work in progress by all means, but it's been really interesting to kind of make that connection of how I show up in life and work is also sort of what's happening in the arena and finding ways to reconcile those.
Is one of those 30 lazy ass old guy? Because I think I qualify for that one. I think I'm right in there.
We'll have to look that up.
All right. We're going to go on to our final question of the night. But before I do that, I want to chat with all of you guys a little bit about what you do and find out a little bit more. So let's start with Stephanie. She is over there with Dressage today. So what's your role over there? What's your official title?
My official title is Multimedia Content Director. So that means a little bit of everything. I do, because Dressage today no longer publishes as a hard copy publication, a magazine. It kind of got merged in with Practical Horseman. So I do act as partially as I do some editing and writing work for the print issue of Practical Horseman. But I also, like we talked about earlier, do a podcast. We have a video subscription site that I do a lot of work with, filming videos and doing descriptions and all that, which is where I get to meet lots of really, really, really great people. And social media, which we'll be talking about in a few minutes here, and the website. So just all sorts of different things.
Very good. And Katie, so people can find you. The best place to go is your website, I assume.
Yes, it is.
And, if somebody wanted to talk to you about the things you've been talking about tonight, that's where they would contact you?
Yes. If they go to katienavarra.com, there's a contact page right there at the bottom of every page on the website. Also on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, and welcome any opportunity to just kind of chat horses and hear where all of you're at and what you're hoping to work towards in the next step.
Very good. And then we have the timid rider who, it's so funny because when I first learned that you were the timid rider person, I went, Heather's the timid rider.
I get that a lot.
Well, your personality is not timid, let's be honest. It's the exact opposite of that. So obviously your website too, right?
Yes, timidrider.com. And then I'm across social media at timidrider as well.
And for those that are followers of Horses in the Morning, Heather got to go out and spend the weekend with Jamie out there at Flag Is Up Farm. So what was your impression of the movement that you went to out there?
I was really interested. This was my first ever horsemanship clinic. And like I maybe mentioned before, I'm kind of started this journey to become a better person for my horses and to better communicate with them. So I found it, first of all, you can't go wrong with a true legend who's been working with horses for 80 years. So that was really interesting. But God,
He's
it was
86. And from what Jamie said, he just didn't quit all weekend.
Oh my God, he didn't stop. He got on and started reining a horse he hadn't ridden in months. And before that, he hadn't ridden the horse in 3 years. And I mean, it just, I hope to God that I'm as physically capable as him and mentally capable at 86 years old, because I'm not going to lie, I have some trouble dismounting sometimes after a long day in the saddle. So to watch him go was really impressive. But he just had so much information.
We're talking about Monty Roberts for those that don't know Flag Is Up Farm.
Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Monty Roberts. And it was lovely to meet Jamie and all the other trailblazers there. And it was the tagline this year was transformations, transitions, and trailblazers. So we watched thoroughbreds and wild Mustangs kind of going through the transformational process. And it was really interesting to see a day 1 versus day 3. I learned a lot.
Yay. Well, good. I'm glad you did. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about that, Jamie talked about it on Horses in the Morning this morning. She spent about a half an hour talking about her weekend and what she got out of it. So, because when you're the instructor, no matter what it is, Katie will know this. When you're the instructor, you always learn more than the students. And in almost every session you ever do, every session I've ever done at podcasting, I learn more because you're prepping for it and you're getting ready for it, and then you learn from the people when they come up and talk to you after. It's more educational for the instructor than the people in the audience. No, all right, let's talk about social media, Stephanie. Let's talk about the evil social media.
So this is the polar opposite of in some respects of the, chronic positivity that we talked about earlier. So we had on the one end of the spectrum, we had the everything has to be great. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we have some social media that can tend to get on the negative side. And of course, Katie balanced us out with how to figure out the balance. So, all 3 of these subjects have kind of blended together.
We're ending on the negative tonight.
Yeah, no, why did we do that? I don't know. But it's not all negative. And I do want to make that point. But at any rate, as far as social media, and again, this spans more than just the horse industry, as we know. But, I've seen the great thing about social media, especially with horses, is, and I think we've all seen it, is in an emergency situation, like if they're down here, if there's hurricanes or if there are fires in California and stuff, social media is a great way to get information out really fast, and people can connect and people can help each other and they come together. And that's when the horse industry does come together. And that's fantastic. I think that's great. On the other hand, then you get a lot of people that will say a lot of really bad things about horses and people and professionals. And I'm kind of amazed by it. And I get it. I'm a sensitive person. I'm a little too sensitive. I get that. And I know the whole scroll on by, just don't pay attention to it. But when you see a lot of it, it's hard to just to just kind of shut it out. And it's hard to not let it sort of start to permeate things. So, but I'm just amazed sometimes how people, I don't know if they don't think like, this is a person, this is a horse that somebody loves. This is someone who has built a career, and people are just mean and they're angry. And I, personally don't get it. But anyway, so, it's kind of like trying to not let that, kind of eat away at you, I guess, a little bit.
We had when I owned the acting company for 10 years, we had an 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule was 80% of the audience will love what you did and 20% will hate it. And they sat right beside each other. They ate the same food and they saw the same show. There was no difference in the 400 people that were out there. And it was always that way. It was always the 80-20. So we always had this thing. And I think that's where I got a tougher skin from. You play to the 80 because the 20 isn't going to like it. So you don't change what you're doing for the 20%, you play to the 80%. And so when we started Horse Radio Network, it was that way. I knew that we were going to have people that didn't like us, and that's fine. They're the 20%. We don't play to them, we play to the 80%. And that's a hard lesson to learn, though, for a while, especially when the attacks are personal. If they're attacking generally, a topic or a subject, then you don't agree with it. That's one thing, right? But when they come after you personally, then that's a whole different thing. But yet they're the 20%. And it's so funny because those same people listen every day.
That's what I don't get. I'm like, if you hate it so much, why do you stay?
They love the drama.
I know. I get it. Yeah.
Or they have to have something to hate. I don't know. Katie, you deal with personality and stuff like that. Where do you fall on this one?
Well, so I am your upper end of the millennial generation. So I have a love-hate relationship with social media because, it wasn't around when I was born, but it's become, but I'm a little bit more than the generation older than me. And some days I just wish I could delete all my accounts and not be on it. And part of it is even the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. You see all these people that you compete with, going back to that conversation you see in their feeds. But then, the beauty of social media is I've made a great living on finding stories of the people I'm connected with. And not only have I made a great living, but I have been able to highlight and spotlight people's accomplishments that mean so much to them. And so it becomes like this affirmation of the work that they have done or the accomplishment that they've had in life. And that's a really powerful and cool feeling to be able to share somebody else's success with the world. And some of those people I would never, keep up with or run across if it weren't for social media. So, it's that love-hate. I wish I could cut the cord, but I won't.
Well, we all wouldn't be friends, and we're sitting here tonight, right? Without
Very
it.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have met maybe, but at a conference or something. But it is.
Right.
Yeah, but it is so much easier to, like, I probably would have never called Heather. It was easy because I knew we're Facebook friends and I just drop her a message. It's easier.
Yeah.
So it is more complicated. God, we were selling tickets to shows where people had to send in checks. There was no internet. I mean, I don't know how we even did things back then. It's just crazy when you think about it. So there is a lot of positives, but it's tough to have that skin. And the other thing, too, that I think that's kind of a negative with social media is people tend to only post the good things. So,
that's that toxic positivity coming back at you.
Right.
Yeah. See, we've come full circle.
Look at that. Journalists putting it all together.
And I think that's why when you see people who post, "Hey, I just got the words, you have cancer," right? And when you see people post the very vulnerable things, they actually get more reaction and more positivity, ironically, than a post that's positive, right? So because you don't always see those on social media, especially Facebook. You don't see the vulnerable things all the time. And I think, actually, I'm seeing it more. I think people are being more honest than they were 2 years ago.
Well, I can definitely speak to this because my blog is really personal. And I think you have the perfect point, Glenn, because I do tend to focus a lot on the positive and how I've grown, but I do post occasionally like a troubled ride or a problem I'm having or things like that. And those posts go so viral. I get so many comments and so much support, which is really, really lovely because it's not a cry for help. I'm not looking for attention. I just want to share the other side of it. Like, I just want to kind of make that a conversation, be really authentic. And I think that really jives with people. I think that really hits a spot because not everybody does that.
I think relatable's the word, right? You're relatable because everybody can relate to it, right? I mean, we all have those issues and we can all, I think that's why Horses in the Morning has done so well over the years is because we're just relatable, right? She's that girl, I'm that guy, we make all the mistakes. We all do all the stupid stuff and we're just relatable. And I think that's I think that's kind of what people are looking for. It's interesting too with the guests we've had on over the years, and we've had over 6,000 now on Horses in the Morning. So, but our most popular days are not when we have Olympians. It's when we have average people that people can relate to, right? They have a story to tell, but nobody, you can't relate to an Olympian. You can't even fathom what their life is like. Riding 10 horses in a day, nobody can relate to that. So I think we relate to people that are more like us. I might be wrong about that, but that's what we found over the years.
No, I would absolutely agree with you. When I look, and sometimes I do like speaking engagements or things like that, and I'll have 2,000 followers versus 24 or 40,000 that all these other people have. And that's because I don't know why, but it doesn't matter to me, because what matters is like, I'm helping somebody by talking about my own personal journey, and the private messages I get are what keep me going. I've been lucky enough to meet people in person that have been touched by my stories. And on days where I'm just like, you know what, I don't know if it's worth it, me sharing this anymore. Those are the things that keep me going. And so there's a cyclical effect too of that. Because I've been lucky enough to not get a lot of negativity. Although one time somebody said something about my daughter's riding, and I just flipped out.
Well, that's Mama Bear coming out there.
You can say something about me all you want, but she's not paying to be on social media, okay?
You imagine how much politicians must feel when they go after their kids? Oh, that must be awful.
Terrible.
Katie?
What you said was interesting, Glenn, the 80-20 thing, and playing to the 80% and not to the 20, because and I'll bring in Katie's topic, part of my personality is I've always been a bit of a people pleaser. I want everybody to be happy. And, so I'm less of a people pleaser than I used to be. I think age has something to do with that. You just give up after a while.
Yeah,
You're like,
you get tired.
Yeah, you do. And I get it. Fundamentally, I understand you can't please everybody, but there's still a piece of me that's like, I want you to like it. Why won't you like it?
Okay. But put them in that 20. Now that you've heard that,
right.
There's a box that the 20% belong in. Just put them in the box.
That's what I was going to say. That's why what you said really kind of resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I guess I didn't really think of it. I've got, that to play more to the 80% and less to the 20%.
The problem when you play, the problem
tricky.
when you play to the 20% is you lose the 80% because you're spending all your time over here with this box that never is going to change or care about you.
No, exactly.
And over here's the 80% that are loving you and you're ignoring them.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. So I've learned something today. Thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
Well, somebody told me about, because I had said, when people unsubscribe from my email newsletter, kind of gives a ping through my heart, or, writes a review, and, I don't necessarily agree about it. And my friend said to me, but you don't want those people receiving your email anyway. Those are not the people for you. And I think it's a really hard pill to swallow, because I myself used to be a people pleaser, and I'm really trying not to be anymore. Right, but it's hard to just shut that down.
It is.
Okay, but now you have the box.
Now I have the box.
I'm going to make a 20% box. I'm going to say Glenn's 20% box.
You should. Should. And you have to, because by focusing on that, you're losing focus on the 80% that really do want to hear what really are affected by what you say. Yeah. And it's going back to what Heather said, when we started Horses in the Morning, especially all the shows, but when we started Horses in the Morning, Jamie and I talked about the fact that our job that day was not to please the 10,000 people that were listening. We wanted to affect one person's life that day, make them laugh when they're having a crappy day, make it, maybe they learn something that saves their horse. One person today, let's go help one person today. So we focus on the one person, not the 10,000 people we know are listening, right?
That's a really good way.
Well, you must be doing something right, because, 10 years later.
Yeah. But it's by focusing on the one. And you don't know who that one is or what that is that day, right? Everybody's day is different. And I think you lose sight too if you focus on the 10,000. Then you're all over the place. Whereas if we're just focusing on the one, our job is to help one person today. Yeah. And you know what? If we help one person 5 days a week, that's pretty good.
That's damn good. Yeah. And that brings that relatability in too, because you're really focusing on one, and you can be super honest and authentic, and they feel like they're heard, and that you're talking to them.
We totally hijacked Katie's topic here.
Sorry.
No, it was Stephanie's topic.
It was my topic.
Oh, it's your topic. That's right. Okay, yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is, I think it's interesting that that, we have all these metrics on social media, like likes and comments and all of that, but we don't really truly know how we affect somebody until they take the time to send that note. And it is when it comes at the most unexpected time, or from somebody that you really just had no idea had been touched at that particular moment. And I think that that's, also super powerful to remember when there's so many negative things that go along with social media sometimes. It's just, this is just something as silly as last week I saw a youth essay contest for young horse lovers. And so I shared it on my LinkedIn, and somebody that I went to high school with, who's a superintendent at a school, reached out and asked for the link and said, by the way, I love reading all of your articles. And I was like, geez, I haven't talked to you in 20 years. And, it was really sweet of you I had no idea you read my stuff, So I think that those moments are also helpful to balance out the 20% negativity.
Are you guys surprised sometimes at the things that do affect people? Like sometimes we'll do a show and we'll think it's not very good. We do this a lot every day. So, some are better than others in our opinion. But we'll get more on the day we think, that we just kind of sucked today. And that's the one we get the most response on, that people loved it. We're never right about the things we think, or we have a guest on that we thought, they were okay. Yeah. But yet we'll get 10 comments on that one guest because people related to that guest, yet we didn't think it was anything really super special, right? I'm always surprised at the things that do affect people.
Or the opposite. You think, oh man, this is going to be really good. And then people are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, nobody cares.
I admittedly am not good at predicting stuff at all. So, just go with it.
Well, Heather, you probably get that. You write this piece and you're going, this is the one that's really going to get a lot of reaction. It's like, no.
It's funny because I wrote the toxic positivity piece, and I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know about sharing this, and maybe I just don't. And then it got picked up by Venting Nation, and it started going viral. And I was like, wow, I must have really hit a nerve. It was a little surprising to me. So I was like, oh, this is great. But then I have something that I really work really hard on. I'm like, this is going to be so important and educational, and crickets. So you just never know what's gonna hit.
Yeah, for some reason that laminitis article just didn't make it.
Exactly. It's very exciting at laminitis. I don't understand.
Well, this has been good.
Goes to saying, just be true to yourself and, keep doing what you're doing, and then, just see what happens.
So there we go. Play to the 80%, not to 20%. And that goes for life. Yep. That goes for your Facebook friends, quote unquote, right? Don't play to the 20% that piss you off every day they post. Just unfollow them, and play to the 80%. I'm going to leave everybody with that today. Thank you, Stephanie. You reminded me. All right, good. Well, again, where can everybody find you, Stephanie, real quick?
The website's dressagetoday.com, or social media. We're all over social media at Dressage Today.
Can't miss it. Heather?
timidrider.com or at timidrider across social media.
And Katie?
You can find me at katienavarra.com.
Very good. And of course, if you missed any part of today's show and you want to hear the rest of it, you can watch it on the video here on any of the pages we put it on, or you can catch the audio version at stablescoop.com, or you can find it on any podcast player. Just search for Stable Scoop. It's actually our longest show. This has been going since 2008. And we have a bunch of other shows on the Horse Radio Network now, over 20 of them. You can go to horseradionetwork.com, just look at the homepage, and you'll find them all there. And if you want to see where we can meet up on the big road show, we're going to get started here at the end of July. We have all the meetups posted now. Go to horseradionetwork.com and just click on the banner for the road show, and you'll see all the meetups. We don't have all the details about all of them, but at least have the time and places so you can reserve the date. And that's it for today. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you to Chris at the American Horse Publications. I just want to thank her because she's the one that puts us all together. We're friends because of that group, really. Yeah. Right? And
we're plug in for the conference.
Yeah, go ahead.
If there's anyone listening today that's interested or involved in any way in equine media, we'd love to have you at our annual seminar. It's the American Horse Publication Seminar. It will be in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas this year at the Westin Hotel there, September 16th through 18th.
I heard steak. That's all I heard was steak.
I heard Texas. I just want to travel.
Yeah, I know. But it is a great conference. It really is.
Yeah,
But I heard some of the speakers are really crappy this year.
Yeah,
but,
especially Heather Wallace and Glenn.
Yeah, you don't
You
want to
gotta
hear
play
us
to
talk.
the 80%, man.
Yeah.
Just play to the 80%.
And on that
Hopefully
note, AmericanHorsePublications.org? Com?
Yeah.
AmericanHorsePubs.org.
.org. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Katie. All right. Bye, everybody.